Good evening indeed, my fellow Americans. It is indeed Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. Again, this is the Robert Duverny Show that comes on to you every Tuesday at 2000 hours. You know, if it's Tuesday, if it's 8 p.m., it's the Robert Duverny Show. My fellow Americans, I'd like to wish you all a belated Memorial Day. Those of you who serve, we'd like to take this time to salute you for your great work, and those of you who had the day off, I'm sure most of you took the time to reflect on the importance of celebrating Memorial Day. It's a time that we get to be with the family, and again, this is the first national holiday of the year. As you know, most offices were closed yesterday. School were closed. Universities, most public workplace, of course, they're all closed. And we do not take these things for granted. I'm sure most of you had some barbecue. And it's a good time to be with family and reflect on those who paid the ultimate price so we can enjoy the freedom that we have. Good evening, of course, Pastor Bertroni. Good evening, Pastor Lernia Gallen as well, who are logging in on the Robert Duverny Show. Thank you for logging in. As usual, you guys are loyal viewers of the Robert Duverny Show, which comes to you every Tuesday. You know, if it's 8 p.m., if it's Tuesday, there's only one place to be at the Robert Duverny Show. Well, tonight we again at the Robert Duverny Show, we always have tons of stuff to go over, and it's going to be a show as usual, full of news, full of headlines, and I'm going to take my time, make sure that we go over each one of these individually, because there's so much at stake, and I think you as a regular viewer of the Robert Duverny Show, you got to stay informed of what's going on, and as well be on the lookout. Well, again, at the Robert Duverny Show, as usual, we don't cover sport in this show, but then again, I'd like to just touch base on what happened just a few days ago. As you know, the Miami Heat, was on the verge of elimination, and there were those who called Miami Heat a soft team because they were leading 3-0 over the Boston Celtics. And well, last night, before I jump to last night, see, I'm all excited. Well, Saturday night we could have ended up right there at the Miami Heat Arena downtown Miami, but that did not happen at the last second. You know, just that's the beauty of America. Time is money. Time is of the essence. That's the reason why we do not take our time for granted. There was actually 3 seconds left in counting. The Boston and Celtics inbound the ball, and again, one of the marquee player, I'm talking about Tatum, Jason Tatum, he shot a 3 but missed it, and Derek White was right at the rebounding lane, and he picked it up, and then as the clock expired, guess what? It went in, and that was it. So we lost the game 104-103. I'm sure it was somewhat bitter. I was driving from downtown going to Palm Beach, and it was a long drive, and I was listening to it on the radio because I attended a function that night, and unfortunately I was devastated behind the wheel, and but I did not lose hope. I did not lose hope. Well, we had a unique opportunity to redeem ourselves on Monday. Exactly what happened. As you all know, Monday night on Memorial Day, Miami Heat went to Boston and took care of business. So again, congratulations to the Miami Heat. And of course, we cannot stand on the sideline not saying congratulations to the Florida Panthers. Again, all eyes on the South Florida right now. South Florida is making headways. There are those who forgotten the state of Florida has so much potential. Again, this is it. Both the Miami Heat and the Florida Panthers, they both gone for championship. This is the ultimate prize. The Miami Heat will be going for the ultimate prize, which is the Larry O'Brien Championship Trophy, and then while the Florida Marlins will go after the Stanley Cup trophy. Again, wouldn't that be something? Imagine both Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat crowning as champion. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So we're looking forward to it. We're not going to count out Miami Heat. We're not going to count out the Florida Marlins. Florida Marlins. I'm sorry. The Florida Panthers. Correction. Florida Panthers play hockey. I'm sure most of you should have an interest in hockey right now because it's a hometown team. We should root for them, support them, and when Florida wins, we all win, right? All right. But that's all we have for sports, and we have again some other news we'd like to touch base with you. This is, of course, the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling. As you all know, debt ceiling has been rampant. I mean, that's the beauty of America. There's always something in the news, something always to keep us on our toes, right? Just a couple of days ago, it was we were going crazy with the Heat, and then football season now. The debt ceiling. It's summer. There's got to be something to keep you in the news, keep you tuned into your TV. Well, I'm sure our politicians, they're not short on change when it comes to that. They keep us on our toes, and they talk show, radio shows, even the YouTube channels are gone berserk. Those of you who may choose to follow politics on a regular basis, like I do, what we have before us right now is the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling, we touched it last week at length, whereas this is debt that we accumulated over the previous years, and then we must pay for these debt. Again, like I give you the analogy the other day. Think of your credit card. You use your credit card because you don't have to pay it immediately on the spot. So you use your credit card. But 30 days later, there's what's called a billing cycle. When that billing cycle comes in, that's when they're going to start charging you financing charges. Whereas you think of it after every 30 days, if you don't pay your outstanding balance, and then it revolves with interest. So same thing goes with the U.S. debt. These are debts that we paid for Social Security. We pay hospitals, the retirees, and there's so much involved, so much at stake. And Mr. President Biden, along with Speaker of the House, Mr. Kevin McCarthy, they have reached a tentative agreement. What does that mean, a tentative agreement? That means it's not definite. It's an attempt. It's not written in stone, but on principle, they've agreed. Well, again, as you all know, Mr. McCarthy didn't have it easy. I mean, for you to be elected Speaker of the House, it's an uphill battle. And as of recently, you see he had 15 trials. So in other words, his own caucus did not want him in there. So he had to do a lot of consolidation. He had to really deal with these guys in such a way, whereas he agreed if they're not happy with him, they can vote him out from his speakership. So he's walking on icy ground. So you can understand he has a tough battle, a tough choice before him, because there are those in his own caucus who do not align with his philosophy, his way of conducting business for the House. Again, as you know, there's quite a few members and who are MAGA, Make America Great Again disciple, who wants to tear out the House, or who wants to burn the House. Put it this way: if it's either the way or the highway. Right now, we've heard quite a few. I can quote Dan Bishop says that Kevin McCarthy is emasculating himself in the Republican majority, and characterized a debt ceiling deal with the White House as an entire capitulation and abandonment of real issues. So what he's saying in a nutshell is that Mr. McCarthy is showing weakness. He's showing that he's defeated because he worked a deal with Biden. Again, but they forgot we're doing the American people's business. That's where they lose sight. All right, I got quite a few coming in. Oh, Dr. Azol just logged in. Oh, well, Mr. McCarthy is toast, huh? It appears to be, he's heading in that direction. The likes of your District 3 in Georgia. Your District 3 representative in Georgia is not too happy with him, for sure. But you know what? I think it's time that we put our politics aside and deal with the people's business. At the end of the day, who suffer the most is the American people. It's not these guys. I mean, in reality, I think the Republican, based on the tentative agreement that I've seen coming through, I think the Republican won, because there's a lot of concession that the White House had to do just to cater to these so-called representative. Again, we at the end of the day suffered, and how we suffer? Well, if our credit rating goes down, you know, when your credit rating goes down, that means you're going to pay extra for everything in terms of finances. So think about mortgages, think about loans, think about car loan. All these things comes into play, and who normally suffer the bulk of these things? It's the American people, the middle class. These are the people who suffer the most. So when I hear politicians talking about fiscal responsibility, or when I hear them talking about these things, I say, well, when did you have that revelation, that awakening? Is it happening overnight? What happened 2-3 years ago? All right, and I don't think it's a brilliant idea. I know sometimes if you want to get somebody close to something you want to get done, it's best that you wait the appropriate time. But now to hold the American people hostage over debt ceiling, I think it's quite remarkable. It's quite crazy, to say the least. I believe there's other ways that we can deal with issues like this, and the public doesn't have to get in your mess. I mean, but then again, what I can see that comes out of that debt ceiling agreement is that they agree. Again, when I mean they, not the Republican nor the Democrat Party who agree, but it's it's President Biden with McCarthy. Okay, they agree to raise the debt ceiling for 2 years. So which means that we're not going to have that entertainment next year around this time. So for 2 years, they would not even bother with a debt ceiling agreement. So in other words, for the next 2 years, no debt ceiling. That'll be next year. Don't worry about that. Whatever budget they agree on right now, they're not going to go through that next year. All right, that's one thing. Also, they're willing to a 1% cap of non-defense spending increase for 2025 fiscal year. In other words, when it comes to 2025, non-defense, in other words, nothing related to the military, the cap will be to 1%. In other words, if it was at 99 right now, you can only increase it to 1%, so make it 100. So this is at just 1% cap. So in other words, that's how far they would allow you to add anything to a budget, no more than that, just 1%. Anything that's non-defense, they would only make concession to military expenditures. So they cap it at 1%. Now, the next thing they agree on is the clawback of unspent COVID-19 funds. So as you know, the COVID-19 really we spent a lot of money. We spent trillions of dollars. So there are still funding, okay, that was appropriated for COVID-19 that's still here, that's still in the bank or in the treasury, that they want to claw these back. In other words, they want to use this money, remove it from COVID, let's say you may want to call it like COVID bank account and transfer it to another account just so they can compensate for all their expenditures. All right. Let me see. As Dr. Azor is very creative, she said she bought a bunch of popcorn to wait for DeSantis Trump debate. Well, Dr. Azor, that's going to be an interesting debate. As you know, from the great state of Florida, we have nothing but genius in the state of Florida. So we have two candidates coming from the state of Florida, the governor and the former president, and they all fight. I mean, I don't know if it's the fact that I live here in the state, they're fighting over it, but then again, who knows? I'll let the skeptics discuss that further. Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. So popcorn's gonna go up. Those of you who want to buy stocks in popcorn, you have a unique opportunity to buy some stocks because there's been a lot of entertainment coming down the road. All right. Next thing on the again, the tentative agreement between the White House and then Speaker McCarthy is that they expanded work requirement for certain adults on food stamps. Now, that right there, it makes sense. I agree. I think the work requirement to some is legit. I believe if the government's gonna help you to some extent, you got to show some skin in the game. Whereas you're making some attempts. Again, to some adults, as you can say, it's not on everybody, but to some adults. In other words, those of you who are capable to hold a job and who are not making the effort to get a job, and if you want some federal assistance for SNAP, which is a supplemental nutrition assistance program, so you got to show some skin in the game. Whereas you're making some attempt to get a job, or maybe you're working, but you're not getting enough, okay, to help the family. So that I don't think the Democratic Party should be fighting over this one. I think it's common sense. It's pretty fair, in my opinion. That right there, but it's an easy sell. Next, they would resend some new funding to the IRS from the Inflation Reduction Act. As you know, not long ago, in the Inflation Reduction Act that passed by Congress when President Biden just took office, you remember that they have control of both the House and the Senate, so they were able to pass some legislation that would put money in the system where they could hire more IRS agents. And what happened is there's a lot of it's like there's accounts receivable. Okay, there's a lot of cash out there. There's a lot of collection to be made. But the fact that the IRS was they have a system that's gone outdated, going back to 1970s. I mean, usually when you call IRS, it takes you about an hour somebody to call, and as you wait. They finally hung up on you, so it's tough. So the Biden administration felt the need to hire, to bring more folks into the workload, whereas they would, by having more people working at the IRS, they'll be more effective, and at the same time collect more debts, because a lot of people do not pay taxes. So the IRS feel like, well, there's a lot of money out there that can be collected, so why not put more funds into that account and bringing more folks in the fold, and in return they can do more audits and collect more funds. So now the Republican Party, who a party for the people, they don't want the IRS to chase the American people. So they told the administration, well, I want you to resend some new fundings. In other words, we're going to take some cash out, or whatever money that you appropriate in your budget. We're going to cut some of it, so we're not going to allow you to have all that money. So in other words, there's going to be less employees at the IRS, so less audit and less funds will be coming in. So that right there, I think it depends when you ask the question. They'll probably tell you it's a good idea. It may not be a good idea. So we'll let the people debate that even further. Next, new rules to make it easier to get permit approval for energy products. Again, I think this is it's a good thing, right? If we have a guy like Elon Musk, if we have like genius like Bezos who, with Amazon, if you have genius like so many of you watching the Robert Duverny show right now who may have who want to do a startup and then you want to get some type of you need some permit for energy products, okay, and which is going to generate jobs. I think you need to have some kind of a leeway, some type of a process that will eventually get you where you want to be without all these red tapes. So I think that right there is a given. It's a plus. I think I'm on board with this one. I don't see any issue with that. Then again, it depends who you ask. All right, so it depends who you ask. So this is what it is in a nutshell. What I wanted to do before I jump into the next topic, I just want to do a little compare and contrast here. Again, I just told you what the tentative agreement is between the White House and Speaker McCarthy. But if you remember back in 2011, while President Obama was came face to face with a debt ceiling, and then there was a lot of bickering on both parts. And President Biden was a VP back then. So remember that President Obama agreed to $2.1 trillion in spending cuts. 2.1. So in other words, he could not push his agenda. So that was the only way that these guys would move. And then remember that at that time, our credit rating went down. Our credit rating went down because all this bickering that was happening. The market did not feel, well, I don't know, these guys didn't know what they're talking about. If the U.S. default on their responsibility to pay their loans, so what's next? So and every so often we have, but this one right here is even worse, because back in 2011, the folks who were in the House, and the Republican side, they were much mature. They were more mature. I'll put it this way, and they were agreed. I mean, we just don't want to spend over $2.1 trillion. That's a lot of money. All right. So, but they were able at the end. They reached a deal. And that was the beauty of it. So what President Obama did, he cut non-defense spending. He capped it. Same thing that they asked this time, to cap it at 1%. They also restart the student loan payments. Okay, remember that there was a stop in the student repayment of student loan, and also work requirements for expended for food stamp. Same thing again, work requirement for expended for food stamp, and also claw back $30 billion in COVID fundings. Okay, so cut in IRS funding. So all these things, I mean, we know cut IRS funding. All these things, these are the things that we're fighting right now. Non-defense spending that they asked for, work requirements we talked about, restart student loan payment, cut IRS funding, and claw back some $30 billion in COVID funding. This is what it's in intel for this current administration. This is what they agreed to deal with the Republican Party, just so they can move forward. All right, I know this may not be the most topic that you guys want to hear. I don't see any answers. I don't see any questions. But we're going to move on to the next thing. But just before I jump on the next, I want to talk to you about student loans. Those of you who already have your student loans forgiven, kudos to you. Mine have not been forgiven yet. Part of this deal is that the Republican Party wants the repayment process to start again as of August 30th. So in other words, part of this deal is that they can restart the repayment. So the Republican Party figured, well, all these things been on pause. So if we were to have money coming in from the students by paying so we can bring some revenue. So this is part of the deal as well. The Democrat, the White House agreed to it. I mean, see, they're doing concession, so that's concession. I'm not one who really after complete wipeout of student loans, but then again, I'm sure there are some of us who can make good use of it. Some of you were misleading at the beginning of a degree that you were pursuing, and then you ended up with $100,000, $200,000 in student loan, and then yet you're getting a job that paying you $80,000 a year. So plus you have responsibility. So I think some type of forgiveness will somehow work its way, and it will be helpful. And I think it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. All right, look who's here. Look who's here. EPL, Sister Esther P.L. Lewis, who was here in Orlando over the weekend for Haitian convention, the Orlando. She didn't get a chance to come down to South Florida. There was a red carpet waiting for you, but she did not make it here. But Sister P.L. Lewis, welcome on board. Welcome to the Robert Duverny Show. Thank you for logging in. All right. Again, this is where we are, and who is a lender to the U.S. government? Oh, that's a good question. You know what the lender is? IMF. IMF. So IMF is a lender to the U.S. government. These are the folks who actually, and just so you know, another thing, that China backs a lot of our debts. And so we that's right. Every now and then we cannot go too strong with China because they buy a lot of our debt. So technically, China has a great grip on our debt. So we have to play nice with China because otherwise it could be worse. So all right. Thank you for the question. Keep your questions coming. Now, next thing I would like to deal with you, I'd like to touch base with you. It's somewhat funny. As you can see, before I even delve into it, I said it's funny because the Russian government, the USSR, okay, formerly known as USSR, it's no longer USSR, they have a warrant for one of our senators. The senator I'm referring to, ladies and gentlemen, is no one else but the great Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. Well, you're quite welcome, Sister P.L. Lewis. Lindsey Graham has a warrant for his arrest from Russia. Well, now I take offense to this one. Of all senators, why Lindsey Graham? Lindsey Graham is a man who doesn't even remember what he had for breakfast in the morning, let alone for Russia to be after him. So maybe Russia is thinking of this is a man who used to a staunch supporter of John McCain or Maverick in the Senate. Yet I don't understand what Lindsey Graham, a lot he's going through right now. Georgia wanted Lindsey Graham to come for a deposition. As you know, Lindsey Graham made some call as well to the Secretary of State as far as he figured there was some kind of irregularities. I'm sorry, some irregularities in the election. So they wanted him over in Georgia. So now Russia wants him too. So well, I'm sitting with Lindsey Graham. There's a man I used to appreciate when he was a staunch supporter of my hero, John McCain. He's a man I look up to growing up, John McCain. And remember back in my college years in the early 90s, and it's a man I look up to, John McCain. Then again, you would think that Russia would say, well, there's a man who used a hand with John McCain, let's show him some respect. But to put a warrant up to Lindsey Graham, I think it's somewhat of a disservice to our senator. But again, I don't think they're going to get a hold of him. And I think just for the news, I think they're just making a prank out of it. But I don't think Russia really wants to arrest Lindsey Graham. All right, so my fellows, at this time I'd like to take any questions. Those of you may have questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. All right, so feel free to ask me some questions. And now, as you can see, I'm ready to answer your questions. Anything you may have. I'm looking at the screen right now. Do not see any questions. I guess most of you are somewhat content with what's been said. It's either you fell asleep on me tonight. I don't feel the audience this evening. So I don't know if the topic of the debt ceiling really put you to sleep, but But again, it's going to get interesting. It's summer, and it's quite hot here in Florida. I'm sure most of you who's looking for a place to visit, I encourage you to come to South Florida. There's mango season. There's a lot happening. I encourage you to come spend some money here in South Florida. And also, while you're at it, visit Disney. All right, all right. Well, my fellow Americans, it's already 8:32 after the hour. This is it for tonight. I look forward to be back here with you in not too distant future next week. Now, just before I close for tonight, I'd like to give some shout outs to some folks who are celebrating their birthday tonight. As you know, we save the best for last, right? At this time, I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Sister Colin Pierre Lewis from North Miami Beach, who's celebrating her birthday today, May 30th. Colin Pierre Lewis, wishing you a happy birthday. Today is a great day. May God bless you as you celebrate another chapter of your life. Also, I'd like to send out kudos to, of course, one of our own, Sonia, over in Ohio, who's celebrating also her birthday today, the 30th. There's quite a few birthdays here for the month of this is the end of the month. Quite a few birthday we're celebrating tonight, and wishing you guys all a wonderful birthday as you celebrate with your loved one, and may God bless you as you enter a new chapter, and easy on the cake, as you know, easy on the sugar. So that's it. Until next time, my fellow Americans, if it's Tuesday, if it's 8 p.m., it's the Robert Duverny Show. Please like the show, subscribe, tell a colleague or friend of yours that the Robert Duverny Show comes on every Tuesday. And I would not close the segment tonight, not to give a big shout out to my students. Last week I did some career day every year, and I had the chance to visit some school in Miami-Dade County, spend the entire day with the students. I could say that if I were asked to do it again tomorrow, I'll be right there. Those of you students, you know who I'm referring to, from Lakeview Elementary School. You guys really touched me, and it was a great time. We had a great time. The kids, they're very energetic, they're vibrant, they're dynamite. And the question that they raise, and the question that they put forth, and you could see the fire in their eyes. I think I encourage those of you in the professional world to take some time aside and go back to these schools and talk with these kids. I mean, they're so innocent, they're so vibrant, they're like sponge. They're really to absorb everything that you may have for them. So again, my heart goes out to you. I love you dearly, those students, you know. And as I was leaving the classroom, and one of them said, "Well, I have to give you a hug." And then, and they all came and give me a hug at the end. They didn't want to let me go. So hey, you have session after that. So it was very nice. I have fun with these kids every year, and thank you, Mr. Ambrose Delsons from Miami-Dade County Public School, who was the conductor of this great symphony. So he invited me, and then I've been going to this school for the past 10, 15 years now. It's been quite a while, and I love every minute of it. And kids, I know you're going to go to summer right now, and some of them also signed up to the Robert Duverny Show. they were so anxious to see, kids don't make me cry now, okay? I'm picturing it right now as I'm speaking right now. Stop it. So quite a few of them went on and subscribed to my YouTube channel, and it was great. It was great. And until next year, kids, stay positive. I'll be back for you, and I hope to see you next year, and then with greater things in mind. And those of you who wanted to go engineering school, I like that. Those of you who want to be a pharmacist, I remember that. Keep it up. And those of you who want to be teachers, and like Miss Roberts in your class, I remember. So until next time, my fellow Americans, that's all I have for you for this evening. Until we meet again next week for a show alike. Have a good night. Thank you.